Since 1980, we've had multiple success in sport, art and culture. Our sports teams were well run, from the beautiful game to the gentleman's game. We were in many quarters the heartbeat of Southern Africa. Sports united the country, and in 1980, the Golden Girls hockey team shocked the world by winning gold at the Olympics in Moscow. Do you remember the unforgettable Kilimanjaro? His prowess in the boxing ring pushed him to become African heavyweight champion. In 1987, our very own Richard Simba, the Black Diamond, was the only black player at the Rugby World Cup. This was just the 80s, and most of us were not even born then. But we still watch and talk about these achievements passionately today. Fast forward into the 1990s. It was a thing of beauty when Zimbabwe's very own Nick Price was the world's #1 golfer. On the soccer front, Peter Ndlovu became the first African to play in the English Premier League and only hung his boots after 12 seasons. The Black family transformed the country to a formidable Davis Cup nation. Byron, Wayne and Cara Black aced it for over a decade. And then there's a dream story where a young boxer from Bari, Zhenyika Alfonso Mosquito, became the Commonwealth boxing champion in 1998. Still in the 90s, Zimbabwean skipper Andy Flower was the world's #1 Test cricket batsman, and Tatenda Taibu from the humble streets of Highfields became the Chevron's first black captain. Athletics was well represented. Elliot Mujaji brought Paralympic gold home more than twice. Several years later, Stephen Mujingi dominated the Comrades Marathon. And then, of course, our guest today, the swimming sensation of Kirsty Coventry, the most successful African Olympian of all time. She is now the Minister of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation. In the arts, music has changed tempo, keys and notes from Harare Mambo, Leonard Dembo, the Bundu Boys, Stella Chiweshe, Thomas Mapfuma, Oliver Mtukudzi, James Chimombe, Love Moma Jaivana, Solomon Skuza, John Chibadura, Alec Macheso, System Tajrida, Chiwoniso Maraire, Andy Brown, Usingube, Don Gumbo, Jays Marabini, Tanga Wekwasando, Rocky, XQ, Sunny Makalima, Cindy Munyavi, Mafreak, Trevor Dongo, Ja Praiser, Amara Brown and Winky D. Zim Dancehall blew up. COVID has struck. Boso, Dembare and Makepekepe are yet to see the fans storm the stadiums, singing and clapping to the famous Zora Bata by Alec Macheso. Our sports, arts and culture are in the ICU. Fines, suspension, corruption, politics, nepotism, Asiagate, and we all need a streak of hope, discipline, integrity, and national pride. Right now, we can't attend the matches. We can't go to the concerts. We're not buying memorabilia. So how are youth, sport, arts, and recreation surviving? Let's hear from the Minister in charge. Honourable Minister Kirsty Coventry, how are you?
I'm good.
Are you?
I'm happy to be here. A little bit tired, a little bit weary towards the end of the week.
Yes.
I'm happy it's...
How is the icon? How have you transitioned into this new role of yours and the new public life? Like genuinely, you know?
I have been off social media for a long time because Twitter, I went off last year. I just, people started really talking just revoltingly about my daughter, and that for me was a no-go zone. Yeah.
No, that is, it's full, I mean, Zimbabwe is full of a lot of angry people, you know, and look, I respect you for making that decision.
I think when it hits a specific part, and you'll understand when you become a mum one day that your children are, that's a no-go zone. It's like a mama bear that just comes out and it's like, nope.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Your claws came out and you just said, no, I'm going to protect my own. So how many laps are you swimming a week?
0. I mean, time to even like blow dry my hair just doesn't happen.
That. You're not swimming anymore?
I'm not. I actually, the last time I sort of swam properly was when I was pregnant with Ella, and she nearly came early. It was a very tough pregnancy. And at 28 weeks when she nearly came, my doctor was like, right, something's got to give.
Stop it.
Bed rest.
Yes.
So I was on bed rest. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not finding enough adequate time. And you know, I think for me, I would love to be able to just run into a pool and swim a couple laps, but I'm like, no, I need to be there for like an hour to like make it count, you know, because I can run for 15 minutes and get just as much work out as swimming for an hour.
I get it. So you've had to adapt your schedule and do other things to keep fit and keep sane.
Yeah.
So tell me how you feel when you take a visit to something like the netball aquatic complex, you know, in Bare, and even just some of the swimming pools that are so dilapidated or just completely neglected. I don't even know what Les Brown looks like right now, for example, because that was one of the last ones standing.
It's so
somewhat. Yeah. How does that make you feel?
You know, if I look back at when we were at school and where the facilities were and where they are now, just disappointed. You know, disappointed that things weren't done early enough. And I know as a country we've gone through a lot, you know, since sort of the 2000s. And if I look at my career in 2004 and 2008, where we were doing really well and at Olympic Games and whatnot, I wish that there had been funding then when, you know, I was speaking out and giving interviews to say, yes, you know, as much as I received support, it was my mom and dad who were like, you know, selling cakes and hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff to send me on tours. And now, like, you know, we have the talent, let's do it. And I feel like we're still having those conversations. And so it's very frustrating to see that.
So on the SRC, they have, like I said, made a lot of impact in many other ways. And we'll talk about one of the most trending stories, obviously, around heat streak. Okay, they have sought advice from the National Prosecuting Authority on how best to manage the issue locally. ICC has banned him. So what is going to happen locally to Heath Streak and his career?
Well, that I think we have to wait. You know, we need to, as the chairman of the SRC said, we need to seek authority from the Prosecutor General. That's not for us to do. But you know, from what we are doing as a ministry, and this was implemented last year when we got the principles for the Zimbabwe Sport Integrity Bill, and that's also at the Attorney General's office, which I'm very excited about. And we have a workshop, and hopefully it will go out for consultations in the next 2-3 months. But if we had proper legislation in Zimbabwe that protected athletes, that talked about and protected good governance and integrity of sport, we wouldn't have these issues, right? We wouldn't have people, and as the ICC call some of the people the corruptors, coming into Zimbabwe because we have no legislation, right? So we have no legislation against match fixing.
This is what I was about to say, that up until now, Minister, you're telling me that Zimbabwe has no laws against match fixing.
Zero. So we have all the big corruptors come from India, they come into Zimbabwe, they do their little rounds, and they're not even generally focusing on our national levels. They're match fixing in South Africa and wherever else. But because we don't even have the laws in place to say that, hey, South Africa, Interpol, they're here, come and get them. We don't even have that.
So we have it.
And this is what is so needed, and it's been needed for so long. Like, we go back to your first question around our facilities and stuff. If we had a bill which talks about how are we going? Okay, we're going to build something. Great, you're going to build a hockey stadium. What's the plan?
But I mean, your personal feelings about this stuff. I mean, as a minister, you must have been disappointed. Because I'm sure someone like Heath Streak is someone you've also worked with as a colleague when you were also an athlete. I'm sure you've known him for years.
I remember going to the 1998 Commonwealth Games when cricket competed in Kuala Lumpur, and the team was there, and obviously at that point they were doing so well across the globe. And Heath's always been someone that I look up to, and it was very disappointing. It was very hard. I just have to think that if we had stronger legislation which just didn't allow for bad people to come in, because that's where it starts, you know. Like I don't
But what is the drive? I mean, why would someone match fix? Is it about money and that you were bribed? Because were they being paid poorly? Do you know what I mean? My question is, what would make you sell your country?
I mean, in Heath's streak, they have said, the ICC did say that none of the information that he gave to this corruptor, I think they said, led to a match being fixed.
Right.
But they didn't really say what it did or didn't lead to. So I don't really know.
Right,
the
I
ins
get
and
you.
outs.
I get you.
But just the fact that he felt the need to talk to this person who supposedly is a very well-known person for not doing good things. You know, maybe there's also a gap that we need to look at, and what was that? But I think also during the time, you know, he was, I think, coaching for PSI, you know, the Indian teams and things like that. It wasn't just, he wasn't just coaching for Zim. So knowing cricket and knowing salaries that Indian teams pay, that was really what was shocking to me, because I was like, wow. And I mean, even in Zimbabwe, our cricketers get paid very well, our coaches get paid well compared to any other sport. So it just sort of caught me off guard. Yeah.
Artists are on their knees in a lot of ways. They have not been able to have concerts, okay, which was their biggest money maker. We stopped making money with CDs and all that years ago. So there's the livelihood of these people, and this is not just a Zimbabwean problem, obviously.
No, it's global.
But what do we do about the professional element that's been killed in a lot of ways? Kudos to those that have released albums, for example, during the pandemic. But what is your plan to support the artists, the artistes, the athletes who have lost their livelihood?
I mean, so as government, we had a youth and sport and arts fund, COVID relief fund, which was a relief fund, right? It was just to get a little bit of money to artists and sports people and young people to help them with food and groceries and just, you know, try get them by. And now the platform is trying to look at what other platforms can we create. Like, if COVID has taught us one good thing, it's that we need to be quick to adapt. We need to be more formal in what we are seeing as informal ways of making money, right? So artists, sports. How do we formalize that?
This is the thing. They've never been able to formally contribute to our GDP, to formally even be, you know, integrated into some kind of national development where the economy is concerned. I mean, this was even before the pandemic. They were struggling.
No, way before, because there was just nothing that was helping them. There was no skills being given on financial assistance, or, you know, how as an artist do you take what you're doing and manage it and turn it into a career and formalize. Sport and art is so similar. You know, you're gonna have a good month, a bad month, good month, bad month. It's just, it's how it is. It's how the industry is, right? And you know. And so we have to figure out how to create some sustainable income that will just, you know, come in. So what skills do they have outside of their talents that we can harness, that we can give small trainings and help them to set up formally?
Yeah, because I'd even sort of go further and say, why doesn't government have a record label? You know, in that record label, you have the people who can teach artists, like you said, artist management, how to turn around their brands, how to be able to sustain without just being on the stage all the time.
Yes,
is that something government could do? I mean, you have the capacity.
Yes, I think we definitely have the capacity to do that, especially if there's, you know, the industries, if they come together and we support each other. And it is a part of the creative cultural industry strategy. The CCIs all came together, which was a first time. I know we had some fashion designers and music artists and managers, and they were like, we've never actually even spoken to each other. And they've put together the strategy with these different pillars, and that is a part of it, is how to create sustainability and formalize, and what does government, what are the expectations from government, what are the expectations from private sector, how do we mold that together? Right now we're having a conversation within the ministry we sort of then break down the sector, right? So we talk about it in a very holistic way and then break it down. And if we look at our musicians, a lot of young musicians, not in your big cities, are saying, how do we get noticed? How do we get into a studio? How do we get access to these things? And so we're trying to work on a bit of a plan of, can we create like a mobile studio that will just drive around the country and be based in certain areas for a couple weeks or a couple months, and
people can come in,
people can come in,
have some fun, develop something.
Exactly, and teach them along the way, like teach young people. But then, you know, artists that are serious about wanting to record, they can come in and record. You know, we're sort of playing around, like, let's make sure that there's like a very minimal fee that they pay that keeps everything nice and, you know, allows for the truck to move around. But just trying to come up with different concepts of platforms for people to be noticed.
I know you've let some recreational facilities reopen publicly, but in schools it hasn't picked up yet. Okay, we're not looking forward to Kotko this winter. Sorry, it's called Dairy Board Rugby Festival. Do you know what I mean? There's all those things, you know. So what are we doing about that? Because these children,
I hope that they are going to pick back up. As far as we are concerned, from a sports side and from SRC, they've spoken with schools, and the sports that we have already said go back, which actually are most sports now,
quite a few,
including our high risk and medium risk. So it's actually all of our sports, as long as they're following the protocols. And some of the protocols are a bit strict. But at schools, there's different ways of doing it, right? So you can still, and if we look at South Africa, they're allowing for what we've classified as high risk. So your netball, basketball, soccer, you know, where there's a lot of contact and everyone's still quite nervous. They've just got their teams each with their own netball, doing drills, practicing shooting. So it's not the same.
It's not competitive yet, but it's just to keep
right, and to just keep, you know, just to keep that the brain
balanced.
Free and balanced.
I get it. Let's talk about our stadium, okay? CAF banned us. We went on and had a match with Zambia.
Yes.
Then we got fined for having the match because our stadium still hadn't met standards. What happened?
No, it's because of the bucket seats.
Yeah.
And as we've explained to CAF, we have a very long procurement system.
So they weren't even procured for get installed.
Oh my goodness, the procurement has been all over the show. There's been a lot of things which, at the end of the day, it is good because PRAS are wanting to make sure that things are done properly and there's no corruption. And I fully get that. Yeah. As minister and as a my permanent secretary and deputy minister, we're not allowed to get involved with that system and details and stuff. So we just get at the end. And there were, there's new protocols and new guidelines from PRAS, and basically those came into place beginning of last year. And generally when something like that happens, each ministry and heads of ministry go through like a workshop of this is now, when there's a procurement, this is what happens, this is what we expect, these are the documents. And that didn't happen because of COVID.
Are you confident that through these bills that you're waiting for, and the Attorney General's office, that you're going to be able to implement? Because that's where governance really is.
And this is where the second sports bill, which is the repeal and amendments to the SRC Act, which is from like 1950 something, where it still says women can't box. I mean, it just is like ridiculously.
Here I am kickboxing every morning.
I mean, it's like, it really is very backwards. This is where repealing, we couldn't just come up with the Zimbabwe Integrity Bill, which spoke to anti-doping and match fixing and corruption and good governance. The SRC Act needed to be updated, it needed to be repealed. And so we looked at it to say, right, how can we then give SRC, or maybe it's a new council, the teeth to fulfill that legislation, to say no, actually. And for me, the only way that we can really do that is by opening up the council to the national sports associations. They have to be a part of it. And actually the new proposal is that the majority of the members will be from the national associations, not appointments from the minister.
Okay. The National Youth Training Program.
Yes.
You have been accused for many things for bringing this back.
I have.
You've been accused for bringing back the Green Bombers.
Yes.
Okay, my Green Bomber.
I'm creating my own army and my own militia.
Apparently, is that why
did
you've cut
you
your hair?
not see it?
Is that why you've cut your hair?
I'm training. Did you not see them outside? Yeah.
Was that the convoy?
Yeah.
So tell us, I mean,
Oh
look,
my God.
it was received on so many different levels, and I mean, look, let's get the facts.
Yeah.
All right, why did you bring back this training program?
Yeah. Well, it's not the training program.
Okay.
Let's get that straight. It's not, and I think let's be very honest. Maybe as government, we should have also reworded it, right? It wasn't the revitalization of the National Youth Service. It was, we have been studying for a long time National Youth Service, or just national service in the US, in Israel, in Tanzania, in Zambia, in Germany. I mean, in all these countries, we've had teams go and look, and so I think, yes, it's fair for everyone to have had those first reactions, because it's also a very sensitive topic. It's a very emotional topic. It has no good stigma with it, right? There's nothing good about it.
The history, it's not.
So, I take full responsibility for that. We should have reworded it, and I should have seen it from other points of view to say, well, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not revitalizing that program, right? But right now, we also
How is it different to the old one?
So we have to also acknowledge that we have a big group of youth who have been pushed and pulled between different parties, between different ideals for the last 20 plus years, right? And they have lost purpose, they've lost hope, they've lost opportunity. And for me, we have to figure out how we give something to them, how we give something back to them, how we get them to have purpose, how do we give these youth and get them to feel national pride again and to want to rebuild Zimbabwe. And this is what the program is about. It's about volunteering. It's about giving youth educational life skills. It's about then giving them skills that they are interested in, that will then help them go into a vocational training center, or help them go into a university, or help them get a job. It's just a way in which to try and give the youth something. Some form of purpose and some form of hope. And it's also a way in which, I don't think we have done a good job as Zimbabweans of really telling our story, our history. I don't know if you've seen the story of Nahanda. Yes. But for me, that was just like, why do we not do more of this? Like, yes, it's messy and it's not the nicest.
Yeah,
and
had some critique,
being the
but
only Marungu watching the film with the president and everyone else, I was like, how's this gonna go across? But it's messy. Who cares? That's our history.
It's ours.
It's our history, and we have to own it.
Right.
And I don't see any person in Japan or China being like, yeah, my ancestors didn't kill thousands of people. Like, they have museums, and it's not because they are, wanting to worship that. Yeah. They're saying this is where we came from. There are things in there that we're not proud of, but it makes us better, and it makes us who we are today, and it reminds us of how not to be, or how not to act, right? And that is so important in today's world, and we don't have that. And so also a big part of what we're trying to do with the program is to just instill that, and to say these are things you can be proud of, and this is our country's heritage, and this is who we are, and we should be proud of that.
So how will it work? Like, we talk about funding being a big issue all the time.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get the money?
I have to just also thank the president, because he's very supportive of this idea and this program, and he sees it, and he has pretty much said, put a budget together, let's get funding and let's make it happen. We already have existing facilities that were used, and again, it comes with the rebranding and re-imaging, and there has to be a place for youth to be able to go and get trainings, and short trainings of 2 months, 3 months, a few days, whatever they're interested in, right? So that's what we're working on right now, is the implementation of the program.
On to the Constitution Amendment Bill number 2, all right? The most controversial bill in the last year. The 10 seats, the youth quota, 10 seats. Do you think that's enough?
No, it's not enough.
Why aren't you fighting for more?
We have been fighting, and we're going to fight smart. You know what, Ruby, we've got to start somewhere, and when I look back at the history of women fighting for equality and fairship, that we started somewhere, right? So this was our starting block, and as ministry we have set ourselves target and goals that by the end of 2025 we want to see 25% across all sectors.
You know, because we are the majority of the population, we need that space. We have capacity.
We have so much capacity. So I'm not, and I don't think anyone is or thinks that there isn't capacity there. I think sometimes it frightens people.
You are young, you are Caucasian, and you are a woman. Okay? Let's talk about those 3 dynamics in your life right now in the office in which you sit. The honest truth, you know. This is for a young woman who's listening. It's for a young Caucasian woman who wants to enter government as well. Race, age, and gender. You are all 3.
I am. But you know, for me, I think I don't ever see myself as a young white woman. I just see myself as a Zimbabwean. And when I talk to people, and when I first came into the spot, you know, I know there were even probably some of my members of staff who were like, oh, she's way younger than me. And now I've got to go report to her, like, what? And she's not even from politics, and this is, but, you know, it takes time to sort of build that trust and to show you have capacity and to show that you can be fair and you can respect everyone.
So while artists were trying to stay, afloat during COVID, a lot of things came up, right? There were, production houses that have been releasing songs for artists, but are now, getting sued, and they're having issues and fights with artists. What is ministry doing to protect artists, first of all?
So thanks, Ruth. That's a great question. So we are actually developing another legislative rule and the arts bill. Because when we looked back last year at how the conversation started, when we started having different regional conferences to hear from the creative cultural industries and the sectors, and one of their biggest complaints was intellectual property and how to protect it and who protects it, and it doesn't even sit in our ministry. So actually when we started looking at it, we have quite a bit of different legislation, but it all sits in different ministries, and it's not in one place, and so no one really knows who's the person to then have the teeth, essentially. We're trying to just put it all together, have it in one place, have the bill read simply and to the point and factual, and then to be able to do a lot of education, because there's not a lot of knowledge on what copyrights or IP even is, right? So that has to be a follow-on action from the bill. We can't just have a piece of legislation and then not know what to do with it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In your very, very busy schedule. I wish you well.
Thank you.
In all the bills you're trying to pass. I hope that you do get order in your ministry, because all we want is results. Who doesn't love a good game? Who doesn't love a good song?
No, and you know what? So, I have to give my team props, because everyone's really working well together.
Good.
It took a little bit of time, but I think that's like anything, even with a new soccer team, you're going to have those fumbles and figure out how everyone works, and now we're in a groove and we're working nicely, so it's nice to see.
So if you're given another term, are you gonna are you gonna carry on?
I'm just gonna keep focusing on what I'm trying to do right now. That feels really far away from me. I feel like I can't really think about another 3 years. I'm just trying to think about what we need to achieve right now and how we need to support young people and artists and athletes.
Let's not forget what unites us by spending too much time on what divides us. We have a sound of Zimbabwe, a taste, an image, a smell, and a feeling. All these senses come alive in our sport, our arts, and our recreation, but above all, in the hearts and in the minds of our youth. Even the fun stuff needs law and order. Chero mukufara kwedu ngatirongeke nekutedza mtemo. Ekuthabeni kwetu asigcine nini umthetho.